This is the Seven Figure Standard Podcast, hosted by Arash Vossoughi and Mikey Stiller, with mindset and strategies to help you break through and create personal freedom.
Hello and welcome to the Seven Figure Standard Podcast. I'm Mikey Stiller, joined by my co-host Arash Vossoughi, and we're so happy to be here with you this week. And we've got a great topic for you, but before we dive into it, I want to welcome Arash to the show. Arash, how are you?
Great, Mikey. How are you?
I'm doing great. You know, you came up with a really interesting topic for today's podcast. And I think it's interesting because so many times we hear about the fears people have when going after their goals, or fears that might be holding them back. And whether that's fear of success or fear of failure, or once they attract success, fear that they can't keep it. So what we're going to talk about today is how to create long-lasting success. And where do you want to jump in?
You know, success is interesting. I always hear fear of failure, fear of success. I remember when I was studying this, I was like, am I afraid of failure? Am I afraid of success? And then one day I said, who cares? It doesn't matter which one I'm afraid of. I got to get to work. And I remember when I was studying this philosophy, when I was failing miserably, I studied Jim Rohn, and Jim used to say, success is something you attract by the person you become. And it sounded so great to me, but I didn't understand it until I started doing the work. But there's nothing more accurate. If I could fast forward 17 years from now, it was probably one of the biggest ideas that had the greatest impact is, who do I want to become? See, I'm talking about lasting success. I'm not just talking about getting quick results. Lasting success is real success. I'll watch people who create fast results, but they didn't create the right foundation. They didn't create the right standards, the right habits, the right disciplines. So the first step that we have to know is, who do I want to become and what do I want? What do I really want? And you have to be clear. Clarity leads to action. Action leads to results. And people may be listening to this right now, Mike, and they're going through a tough time. But what if I said, tough times don't last, tough people do? See, we have to have the right foundation. And a lot of people will come to me and they'll say, the bigger the goal, the bigger the obstacle. And maybe, but then we got to understand what obstacles are. Obstacles are there to build us. They're not there to stop us. Most people think, oh, I've got this obstacle. So the obstacles are there to allow us to persist so we can grow into the person we want to become. And when we do that, everything will change. You know, the people we surround ourselves with, we did a lesson on proximity, but the people we surround ourselves with have such an amazing amount of influence on who we become. You know, there was a common term, everybody's heard it. Show me your friends, I'll show you your future. You know, so we must become intentional about the people we surround ourselves with. Surround yourself with people who are more aware than you. Surround yourself with people who have greater standards than you. But always surround yourself with people who believe in you. They believe in your potential. The people who will push you to be better, not people who are dream stealers. Mm-hmm. So we have to understand, not everyone is to come into our life and want the same success as we want. And that's okay. They don't have to. But you can't allow anyone to hold you back.
You said something interesting there. You said the bigger the goal, the bigger the obstacle. And if that's true, it's also the bigger the opportunity and the bigger the reward. And I want to go into a little bit more of this, because I think so often there's a false belief around success and around security. And the masses think, oh, I'll find security in this job, when really there's far more security you can create within yourself and your identity. And the work that we teach on this podcast or at Voss Coaching Co., will you talk about where you find security, real, long-lasting security?
Well, you find it within yourself. Success is inside of you. And until you build it inside, you're not going to see it outside. Most people are looking from the outside. You know, I can answer this question a little better. of my journey. And when I started hanging out with my mentor, he introduced me to a new philosophy. He introduced me to new people. He introduced me to new ideas and really a new way of living. And I learned just by watching. I learned by studying successful people. So you will become who you hang out with, but if you study them closely, your philosophy is going to change. What happens are people are jumping from one person to the next, so they never go deep enough to learn to make lasting change. But when we're talking about really lasting success, success always leaves clues. We've got to find somebody as a role model, and that's why mentorship is so important, who's already achieved the type of life we want to achieve, and we want to study them closely. You're going to find what their habits are. You're going to find how they think about obstacles like we were just talking about. And you're going to see how much value they are adding to the marketplace. The more valuable we become, the more successful we're going to become. But then the question is, how do I add more value? I have to be great at solving problems. If I solve small problems, I'm going to get small results. If I solve bigger problems, I'm going to get bigger results. And it means contributing more than you receive in monetary value. So, you know this, we've talked about this. How can I add more value to the marketplace? What I've discovered, the world always rewards the mentally conditioned individual. The more we condition ourselves mentally, the more rewards we're going to get. And so we've got to operate with a code of standards. Like if you study the most successful people, they have a code of standards for themselves. They have a code of ethics. They're building up their integrity. They're building up their character. And so what are you doing when nobody's watching? Are you giving your best? When nobody's watching, are you giving your best? Because how you do one thing is how you do everything. Byron Katie said that. And so if I'm not giving my best, I'm training myself not to be my best. So we've got to look at this much deeper. And there's no way anyone's going to create success without discipline. Discipline is the gap between your goals and your achievements. But discipline doesn't happen overnight. But discipline is what separates the winners and the losers. So discipline is like a mental muscle. And like if we go to the gym regularly, we're going to build our muscles. Well, it's the same way we build discipline. If you take one disciplined activity, you discipline your actions, and you start stacking them. I call it master stacking. You keep stacking these disciplines. Well, what's going to happen is you're going to gain so much more self-respect because discipline is saying, I am valuable. I value myself. My goals are valuable. My contribution is valuable. But it becomes part of our identity because it's all it is a mental muscle.
So let's say that someone has created a little bit of success and they start having that fear creep in of, oh no, what if I can't keep it? What if I slide back? What kind of tools do you have to help them stay on track and create long-lasting success?
Well, if somebody thinks like that, they're not successful. Period. Success is not an event. It's a process. It's what we do every day. So if somebody thinks like that, they don't believe in themselves, number one, so they're not successful. They don't see themselves successful. You'll never be around a successful person that says, I wonder if I can do it again. You'll see an insecure person who created results and they're saying to themselves, I wonder if I could do it. Mm-hmm. Success does not happen overnight. And it's about constantly being obsessed about improving your work, improving your craft, improving your mindset, improving your standards, because that's what's going to create long-lasting results. Now, real success is built day by day. But somebody who's going to be really successful, Mike, when they're not looking at the results, where they're looking inside of themselves of how can I get better? So success is always going back to the beginning, attracted by the person we become.
So I think we did this on one of our first episodes, but I think it's good to revisit because whoever's listening right now may not have listened to that episode. Why don't we go ahead and define success, especially in this context?
To me, like there's a lot of great definitions.
Mhm.
But to me, success is doing what you want, when you want, with whomever you want, as often as you want. I think every one of us wants freedom. I've never worked with somebody that says, I want bondage. So we've got to define what freedom means to us. So this is where our want is clear. A lot of people have wants, but they don't have an obsession with the want. And so they never create a clear, definite picture. Earlier, I said you have to know what you want and you have to create clarity around the want. When you're clear about something, you know that you know. So what we have to do, like Earl Nightingale had a great quote about success. He says, success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. Now, let's ask the people listening right now. I want you to put your goal in your mind. And is that what you really want or what you think you can achieve? See, that's not a worthy ideal if it's what you think you can achieve. We want a goal that we don't know how in the world we're going to do it. That's going to cause us to build ourselves. That's going to cause us to build persistence, build discipline, build standards, build disciplined actions. And that's going to drive us and it activates our cognitive map. When we make anything an obsession, our brain goes to work on it right away. And so once we understand this, you're going to be able to create long-lasting success. Nobody wants it just there and then taken away.
That brings up something that for the last 16 years, I've always found so incredibly interesting and intriguing. As you meet more and more people, so many people have a hard time coming up with what they want. Why is that so hard for people to just come up with what they want?
This takes me to a different place. I remember when I was first getting mentored by our mentor.
Yes.
And he said, I want to teach you something. He said, I asked my mentor, Earl Nightingale, and he says, what's the secret to success? And he said, Earl told me there is no secret. Decide what you want and dedicate your whole life to doing it. But that's really right there, the crux. People are not deciding what they want because they don't think they can achieve it, because they don't understand who they are. Then they're not dedicating their life to doing it. They're half in, half out. Okay, like look at our society now. There is no patience. They want everything right away because it's so easy to get information. But the information isn't where the magic is. It's in the experience of doing it. So we have to understand our wants come from the essence of who we are. They come from the spiritual side, and we are meant to accomplish that. It's not a guarantee that we're going to accomplish it if we don't build the right disciplines, the right mindsets, the right actions, the right environment. It's not a guarantee, but people are not committing to their wants, so they never build it. And that's why they don't know what they want.
You went exactly where I was going next, because you said everyone's so impatient. And I was going to say, and have commitment issues and decision issues. And they're looking at everybody else's opinions, trying to find their own in that whole sea of opinions. How do you block out everything else and really tune into your authentic self and say, okay, everyone else aside, everything else aside, circumstances aside, where I'm currently at aside, what do I really want? If I could create anything, what?
You have to fall in love with your want. It's not good enough to have a want. It's got to be an obsession. Because success, and this is another crux, success, you're not going to see it right away. So the successful living is about continuing the work when you don't see the results, continuing your process when you don't see the results, continuing your actions when you don't see the results. And you keep pivoting forward. You keep doing it. And then all of a sudden the results come. They were just building like that bamboo tree. You're building your roots and your foundation. But since we're in a society of impatience, do this for 7 days, you're going to lose 10 pounds. That's not long lasting. I've got a money opportunity that you'll create 100,000 overnight. Not long lasting. And so what we have to do is build our philosophy, and our philosophy is always us. And most people are not willing to look within themselves, so they don't build themselves. Every single person, I say this all the time, every single person can do 25 times better than they're doing right now. If they will go and stop letting the outside control them and lock in for 6 months, every day, they're going to astound themselves where they're going to be.
And can we add, let's talk about belief. What role does belief play in this process of creating long-lasting results, long-lasting success? And how do you counter any doubt that comes up?
Well, doubt is going to come up. Belief is critical, but doubt's going to come up. I have doubts every day, but I don't accept the doubt because I understand how to get rid of the doubt. All I have to do is reject the idea. I have an intellectual mind that however I think is going to create my environment. We did an event a few weeks ago and you asked me, what is the number one thing that holds people back? I said, people just don't think. People don't wake up and say, I want to have the worst results. Yet they succumb to doubt. Doubt turns into fear, and then it cripples them. It literally puts them in quicksand. So if you study a successful person, it's not that they don't have problems. They have a lot of problems. They're just great at looking at the problems as an opportunity I get to solve. So, and distractions, we're distracted by just about everything. Like distractions are always going to be showing up in our life. It's what we're doing. Are we catching those distractions? And this is why I'm telling you some of the best idea that started my journey. One of them was what I started this podcast with. Success is attracted to you by the person you become. So if we don't start taking our personal growth seriously, then we're going to keep like on a hamster wheel. We may get 1% better. We may get 5% a year better, but that's not the deal. Like we have infinite potential. We've got to bet on ourselves. We've got to bet on the work we're doing inside, and the outside will take care of itself.
All right. I hope everybody's getting fired up now. Now we're getting to the good stuff. If you could put it into 1 or 2 sentences, what is the mindset required?
Mindset is always do whatever it takes. Always. It's going to take whatever it takes. And you have to be willing to do that. You have to pay the price. Freedom is out there for everybody. But the reason people are not free, the majority of them, because they're not willing to pay the price of personal transformation.
What is the price of personal transformation? Give us some examples.
The price is discipline. The price is your environment. The price is great mentors. The price is upgrading your circle. And that doesn't mean you lose people you care about, not at all. But you just talk to them about different things, but you're always upgrading your circle because you want people who are working in the same direction you're working in. That's the price.
This is so good. What are a few qualities or attributes you think that it takes to be in the top 1%?
Discipline, standard, action, philosophy. I mean, you're never going to outperform your philosophy. So your philosophy is the starting point. You have to understand who you are. You have to understand if one person can do it, I can do it. If I can earn millions, every single one of these people listening can earn millions. If we can build an 8-figure business, anybody can. There's nothing different that we have that they don't have. You just have to have guts. You have to stop wasting your hours. If people knew how important each hour was, they would not be distracted. If they understood that their want is coming from the spiritual essence of who they are, they would never doubt their wants. They would just follow the rules. And so that's what it takes.
All right, now let's get into an action step for this week.
My action step this week is more about observation. It's, am I the person that my goal demands me? And then where are the triggers that are stopping me? Those are those hidden commitments that I think is going to take me to my goal because it's too comfortable. I'm conforming to my past. And write out who is the person I have to become to attract long-lasting success?
I love that. All right, Arash, thank you so much. Thanks to all of you. I hope you enjoyed this week's lesson. And if you did, please share it with your friends and family members. Leave us a rating and review, and we'll see you next week on another episode of the 7-Figure Standard Podcast. Thanks, Arash.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of 7-Figure Standard. We hope you found the insights and strategies helpful on your journey to success. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a rating and review on your favorite podcast platform to help us reach more people like you. To learn more about Arash and Mikey and how Voss Coach & Co. can help you achieve your goals and reach new levels of success, visit vosscoachandco.com. Thank you again for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode of 7-Figure Standard.